You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options. Facebook.com/TheOptionsInsider or via questions at TheOptionsInsider.com.
Join us now for the expert source for inside information on the options markets. It's time for Options Insider Radio with your host, Mark Longo.
All right, everybody, that music means it's time once again for Options Insider Radio, the interview program here on the old network where we welcome on guests from throughout the world of options and derivatives and proceed to pick their brains for the benefit of you, the listener. My name is Mark Longo from theoptionsinsider.com, as well as, of course, from the aforementioned network. Hope you've been enjoying the endless stream of content we've been pushing out to you from the big options industry conference. I sat down with a lot of different people from throughout the industry over the course of those 3 or 4 days, and so that's been filtering out to you over the last couple of weeks. Hope you're enjoying that. A nice roundtable, a nice good overview of a lot of different topics and different people's views on them from the world of options. So hopefully you're enjoying that. And we're going to keep the interview ball rolling here with our next guest. He's a first-timer on the network. He is Ollie Cadman, the head of business operations over there at Vela. Ollie, welcome to the Options Insider Radio program.
Hey, Mark. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And Ollie, as we are wont to do with all of our first-timers here on the old network, why don't you go ahead and give our listeners a little bit of an overview of your background in the space and how you found your way over there to Vela?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I actually started my space. I started in the equity space, actually. So working for the London Stock Exchange. You can probably tell by my accent, based in London. Spent a few years there, and then actually transitioned over to build a new derivatives market for turquoise, really focused on kind of index futures and options. From there, I actually spent a number of years at JP Morgan across equities and F&O. Before finding my way to Vela, I joined about 18 months ago, and I run the business operations team at Vela, which is the easiest way to think about it is basically anything that sort of isn't engineering or sales or managed services. So I look after all of our kind of product, marketing, strategy, support, exchange connectivity, market data, etc. So a lot of the business functions that kind of keep the wheels turning at Vela.
It's good to have someone keeping the wheels turning. I don't want those wheels to fall off there, Ollie. It's funny. The last time I believe we checked in with Vela on the network was about a year ago at the Options Industry Conference. I sat down with your CEO, Jen Nayar. I believe it was her first interview. She handled herself very well. And at the end of it, she kind of left us with a bit of a tease. And we get that a lot here on the network, so it didn't really register with me at the time. People always tell us, stay tuned to this, what we're going to be doing, or stay tuned to that. And very frequently, it doesn't really come to fruition. So when Jen told us at the end of the interview, stay tuned to us, we're going to be doing some stuff in the next couple of months, I thought, okay, sure, we'll do that. And like a lot of people, we just, there were so many people have done that on the network for so long that it didn't really resonate with us. And then fast forward a few months, and you guys, actually probably a few weeks, I think, after the Options Industry Conference, and you guys really got off to the races. She was true to her word. You guys went on a little bit of an acquisition spree. First, you acquired Option City, which is, well known as like a front end on the futures options side of the fence. And then you went back office style or back end style there with acquiring Object as well. So, Ollie, walk us through, it's been a little while now. Walk us through the decision making behind, why those two, and then also how is that integration going?
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm sure when Jen left you with that teaser, there was probably a little bit of a nervous laugh, knowing that a few weeks later she was going to we were going to be announcing and going through sort of 2 acquisitions. And obviously we've been working on them for a number of months. So I think we were all quite relieved to be able to go out to the marketplace and be able to talk about it and explain to them, in the market what we were doing and why. For us, there were 2 very key acquisitions in the context of, I think, the wider industry. For us, it was very important that we felt that we needed to expand into sort of the wider electronic trading stack. We were obviously quite cemented and quite strong in the feed handling and market data and the execution gateway space. But, I think, it's fair to say when you take a step back at the industry, you can see that level of commoditization and that level of sort of encroaching into the client stack is growing. And we wanted to make sure that we were a bigger part of that. We were able to play a bigger part in terms of clients' future strategy around being able to pick a partner of choice that was able to power that whole electronic low-touch stack. And we could also see, a lot of opportunities around the growth in terms of adoption of kind of trading APIs and as a service modeling. So for, taking them individually, Option City, very strong in the options on futures space, had a lot of aspirations in terms of being able to grow, but maybe just didn't have the capital in the background to grow independently. And that's probably also true of object trading, which was very strong in the execution and the DMA space, and done a good job of building effectively an ecosystem of brokers, etc. Something that would have taken us a long time to do, but we felt that is where the market is going in terms of looking for more of these execution and DMA services as a service. And both of those had very complementary strategies to us in terms of being able to expand asset class and functionality. And obviously what we brought to the table was the ability to really power that due to our kind of scale and global reach. So putting those 3 together, we felt, very strongly was, the sum was very much greater than the parts. And that allowed us to really provide a much more coherent offering to our clients and being able to tick more of the boxes and allow them to really focus on where they felt, they could obviously add value to the business. And, as I say, for us, I think what was really important as well is that shift to more of a as a service model, which really goes up into the stack and being able to access an on-demand set of APIs that really cover trading data and risk, and then being able to overlay on that a number of complementary services. And I think it's fair to say that, in terms of the reaction that we've had from the marketplace around that vision and everything, it's been very positive. Clients have really kind of got what we're trying to do, and that's, very encouraging and very nice, especially obviously after all the work we've put in behind the scenes. And yeah, it's been a very busy, crazy year, I think, in terms of, completing those acquisitions, moving forward in terms of integration, educating the market in terms of, what we can offer now and how we can put these things together to give clients more of what they're looking for. Interestingly, since then, against a backdrop of some quite big vendor consolidation, that I think really helps to sort of open up the marketplace for some of the services that we're offering and some of the direction that we're going.
Well, you guys acquired Option City. That's probably a brand our listeners will probably be more familiar with, even than, of course, than the Object, because it speaks to a lot of them directly. One of the complaints, one of the laments we've heard for years from a lot of people on the futures options side of the fence is that tech on that side of the fence, for whatever reason, has lagged behind the equity and index option side of the fence. We see a lot of the brokers out there and even a lot of the vendors, pouring a lot of resources, a lot of R&D into putting all the bells and whistles on the equity options platform, so people can have all sorts of great drop downs and screens and execute spreads with one-click functionality and all this really cool stuff. All the bells and whistles that options traders have come to know and appreciate and pretty much demand when they come to a new platform. And for whatever reason, the futures option space lagged behind. There were not as many players over there. There were Option City and a few others. Not a lot of people really fighting in the bleeding edge on the futures option side of the space. So what do you guys, now that you guys have acquired, Option City, what are you guys doing to really, to bridge that gap? Or maybe you don't think that gap exists anymore. What are you guys doing over there at Option City to really change the perception on tech as it applies to futures and futures options?
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And, I think, to give the guys credit in in what is now our Chicago office, those guys were always really working very closely and aligned with clients to figure out what they did need. I think, we were working against a bit of a backdrop of, lower levels of volatility, a bit of a consolidation in the exchange space. We certainly saw, there was consolidation in terms of market makers, etc. I think it certainly feels like we've turned a corner in terms of some of that stuff in the last 6 to 9 months, and I think some of the figures, etc., suggest that. And I think obviously that creates a lot of opportunity for us. And then when you overlay that with, I guess, some of the additional scale and capacity that we bring, and some of the lessons learned from some of these other, like you said, around kind of index options, equities, etc. And then, we really do have a very strong technology base that we can apply to all of the different asset classes, and you gain that economies of scale, in terms of whether it be, throughput, latency, in terms of whether it be some of the, unique functionality and data sets that we can now offer to clients. It really starts to become a much more interesting conversation. And, as I touched on earlier, some of the conversations we've had with clients now that we have these different assets has, really opened up some new doors. And they're thinking about it in ways that maybe we weren't thinking about it, and some of the directions it could go, which makes it, even more interesting for us, because there's even more opportunity out there that perhaps we hadn't considered at the time. And I think, what we've got the benefit of really is, we can learn from the options of each company in terms of how, we can aim for the highest point with each of the three. So we can learn, object trading obviously spent a lot, we're very successful and spent a lot of time in terms of building that ecosystem in terms of brokers, exchanges, buy side, sell side. Like you touched on, the Option City, extremely successful in terms of building a brand and being one of the leading front ends in terms of that space. And then when we bring those together and aim for sort of the highest common denominator across those three and apply that across the business model, then, that starts to become very exciting in terms of being able to offer a comprehensive solution. And I think, the coverage that Vela brings to that, in terms of the cross-asset and kind of geographical support as well, really makes it very interesting in terms of some of the opportunities that are out there. And I think, we're almost like a kid in a candy store in terms of running around trying to figure out which one we enjoy the taste of most.
I'm glad to hear that optimism, Ollie. But you mentioned the consolidation, on the market maker front. That's something we've heard from a lot of different firms out there in the space. It's kind of another common refrain, another common complaint we hear. There certainly you don't really hear of a lot of new firms entering the space. Usually it's the other way around. How big of a challenge has that been for you guys? You acquired this firm that, predominantly, at least in the early days, was aimed at the professional side, the institutional side of the futures option space. Obviously, there's a retail component now as well. But how big of a challenge has that been for you guys to kind of grow that pie when the broad space is contracting overall?
Yeah, I think what's key for us is obviously being able to offer that wider coverage and wider access to additional markets. And also, that has a service model, something that, we always refer to a little bit as sort of fail fast, is that, we're able to, whilst there's, that consolidation going on at the top end, there's a lot of innovation and a lot of investment going in, in the middle and small end. And that as a service model really allows some of those guys and girls to invest in that space and try new models and see what works without having to necessarily hit some of the barriers to entry that existed 3 or 4 years ago. So it's a nice balance for us of, consistent growth versus being able to offer that, incremental opportunity, exploration, whether there's a lot going on in terms of Asia at the moment and a lot of demand. I'm sure you guys have heard that plenty before as well. And, I think we feel we're quite well set up to be able to allow clients to dip their toe in and then throw their whole body in when they're ready to.
And obviously, you mentioned you guys have the two offerings there. You have the more institutional offering and the more retail-oriented offering. Have you seen a lot of growth, just anecdotally, on the retail futures options side? It's a sign of the space that I'm certainly keenly interested in, and we're interested in always reaching out to on different bases. And I'm curious what you guys are seeing over there. Are you seeing a lot of uptake in retail clients coming to you saying, I want to trade WTI options or gold or whatever the case may be over there?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the interesting points for us around the Option City acquisition was the cloud retail platform that they'd built, and certainly we can see, we continue to see a lot of demand for that offering. And obviously we're working with clients in the marketplace to figure out how that, how we grow that and how we position that going forwards, and plug in some of the wider coverage, etc., that we have from this wider set of off-the-shelf offerings that we have. But yeah, no, it's certainly, I agree with you in the sense that it's certainly, consistently a growing level of demand that we're seeing around that space.
Well, that's good to hear. You're just a font of optimism here today on the show, Ollie. So I like it. We're hearing a lot of people usually on the vendor side of the space. They come on our network and they're complaining about one thing or another. I'm glad to hear you guys are pretty optimistic over there. I know you guys focus a lot as well on providing, API access to a lot of your end users. I'm always curious whenever I talk to a vendor like you guys, who clearly spends a lot of time crafting what you guys believe to be a great UI, great experience, a great front end for the user, and then the user for whatever reason wants to just suck all that data into their own proprietary application. The comment we hear a lot is that, these traders have, 27 screens going, and even still, they don't have enough screen real estate, so you can't go shove another thing onto their screens. They want to just pull your data in. I'm curious, do you guys, do you have a preference in that game? I'm sure you probably would like it, people to be coming in and using all of the bells and whistles that you guys offer. But at the end of the day, do you feel, the API is kind of a necessity to compete in this battle, in this arms race in the trading world in 2018? If you show up at a trading firm and say, hey, use our stuff, and you don't offer the API, is that kind of a losing battle these days?
I think it's a great question and a great observation. I think what we really find is it's a mixture of the two, right? And I think that's why we see this as a good sweet spot for us. I remember being a large investment bank, and we did have, we had 12, 15 screens on everyone's desk and monitoring all the different flow, and the ability and option to be able to consolidate that into a single screen was, that was the nirvana. I think with the evolution of kind of APIs generally, I think that really kind of positions people more to be able to do that. And, one of our mantra really is making sure that, actually most of our front ends and most of what we do on the front end actually uses the same APIs that we can expose to clients. So you can do everything that you need to via the API in the same way that you can do it via the front end. And, that going forward, that's going to be very much the strategy that, we're going to focus on, because I think we see APIs, giving that level of control to clients. That means that they can take all the, like you say, the bells and whistles and the additional functionality that we can offer in terms of the front end, but they can, if they want to, but they can also take the API and apply some of that themselves, consolidate it with others. Certainly in the risk space, especially, I think that's where we see, we really see the API being sort of the lead go-to-market point there, because what you want to be able to do is obviously consolidate your risk across providers, across markets, etc., and being able to integrate that is key.
You brought up the risk space. That's another hot area for a lot of vendors that we talk to these days. That seems where a lot of the bleeding edge tech is really going in on the risk side. We've talked to people who have, AI to help calculate your margin on a real-time basis. People doing all this amazing behind-the-scenes stuff to give you some sort of real-time snapshot of what your margin actually is. A ton of computing power going on behind the scenes to bring that to the table. So what are you guys doing over there at Vela to compete in this ongoing risk suite arms race, if you will?
Yeah, I think from our side, we really want to just, as I say, continue to give people, the option to access and consume that however they want. We have a very strong risk suite and portfolio across both, Metro, which obviously a lot of Option City clients will be very familiar with, and also our DMA platform from the object trading side, and consolidating that to a single risk suite across those, and then really being able to power kind of consolidated risk view across positions and across markets and across systems. I think we see going forward as being very key and very powerful.
And staying with the Option City for a second, obviously you guys bought the platform. You plan to keep developing it and really improving on it. So what do you see as some of the core focuses going forward? Is there a particular set of functionality you want to improve? Spread, click functionality? You want to add new asset classes? What are some of the big improvements we can expect coming on the Option City front in the coming months?
Well, I think we can definitely promise that it will be yellow going forwards, just to fit with the Vela brand. But on a more functional basis, I guess, we're working with clients at the moment. After some initial kind of investment and development, we're working with clients at the moment to kind of figure out, where they would like to see the direction go best. It's no secret when we did the acquisitions that we talked about, the ability to expand into, additional asset classes and additional regions, and that continues to be a priority and focus for us, and that's somewhere where we continue to invest. We will always be very client. It's kind of at the heart of Vela in terms of being very client focused and client led in terms of where they would like to see us go. We're having some very interesting conversations with clients around some of the areas where we could continue to enhance Metro, and I think strategically, we see that as, a key weapon in our arsenal as we continue to grow the business. So without a smirk on my face, I guess I would say watch this space as we continue to, release kind of more information and evolve the product.
Yeah, we'll be looking forward to that. You mentioned new asset classes. I think I'm legally obligated to ask every person who comes on the network about crypto. It's just required by law. So I'd imagine you've seen the explosion of interest in this space. Do you guys have any plans, or perhaps you're looking at it already to get into the crypto space?
Yeah, I was at a conference a few weeks ago in Chicago, and I think, most people that came up to us asked us something about crypto. I think it's definitely something we're monitoring closely. We do have support for a number of products already, certainly in terms of the exchange-listed CME products. We are taking a little bit of a wait-and-see approach, I think, to see which venues really kind of pick up going forward. There's obviously a lot of challenge. I think there's a lot of challenges for clients in terms of being able to access that, and that's where we can add a lot of value. But again, we're quite client-led in that space, and I think we'll continue to work with our clients to understand where their key priorities are in that. And we're monitoring very closely in terms of the venues and everything else, and what's evolving in that space. It's certainly a buzzword at the moment, and I think it's something that we can perhaps discuss in a future interview.
Well, Ollie, we touched on crypto, we touched on risk analytics, APIs, kind of the ongoing integration of the Object and Option City brands into the Vela umbrella over there, some of the consolidation going on in the market maker space and how that's impacted you guys. But even in that wide-ranging conversation, something we didn't hit on, or perhaps maybe you want to leave our listeners, our audience, with a little bit of a hint, a little bit of a tease of what's coming down the pike from you guys over there at Vela. Now is the time, sir. The floor is yours.
Cool. Yeah. Well, like you say, I think we touched on a lot of the buzzwords. We definitely ticked all of those boxes. I think, look, from our side, it's continuing what we do best, which I think is listening to clients, adapting to the marketplace, and evolving those products. What's really important and key for us, which we're very excited about over the next few months, is how we bring more of these products together, and we very quickly expand more of the market access and the market points. So once we have our Metro trading platform talking to our DMA platform, then suddenly you've got an increased breadth of market, you've got an increased breadth of brokers, you've got an increased breadth of functionality, And once we loop that into some of our other products, we're going to be continually growing the ecosystem, continually growing the access points. We've got a lot of plans around Asia starting this year in terms of being able to deliver more of our services within region and more of access to those services to existing clients within the current regions. I think, and I hope that what clients will see from us is sort of a continued level of delivery and innovation in terms of providing more services, more access, and more functionality.
And just to check, no other acquisitions on the horizon? I know last time I talked to you guys, you went on an acquisition spree shortly thereafter. Any other sprees on the horizon, or are you kind of focusing on what you already bought?
I think at the moment, certainly, we're really looking at what we've got and maximising the value of that. Absolutely. I think, anything beyond that is probably a question for Jen, and see what she's thinking. But we want to kind of continue to invest in what we've got, give clients the best experience, give clients the best access to everything that they need to in terms of APIs, the Vela stack, and all we can do across kind of our different capabilities across ticker plan execution gateways, risk and analytics, and our trading platform Metro. But never say never. Who knows? I certainly don't.
Yes, indeed. Certainly not in this space. Well, Ollie, I'm glad we can get you on. We'll look forward to seeing how all of these developments at Vela unfold in the marketplace in the coming months.
Great. Thank you very much. It's been really enjoyed it.
Thank you. And stay tuned to Options Insider Radio for more interviews coming your way very soon.
The preceding program was a production of the Options Insider Radio Network. For more quality options programs, visit www.theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app, available in iTunes and on Google Play. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.